Homelessness.
Poverty.
Buses, trains, trams, planes.
Mental health.
Disability.
Immigration.
Hidden ethnic communities.
Employment.
Young people.
Older people.
LGBT.
Refugees.
You think you know, but you have no idea. This is the story of technology in London. Technology is changing the world as we know it. In major cities across the globe, the race has begun to be at the forefront of innovation. From wearable tech, fitness, even restaurants are having to keep up with London's technological revolution. This change is leading us away from the old transactions of cash and card to using our own DNA to pay. In the city, technology is responsible for job increase, generating an incredible 85,000 jobs in the last year. So is technology taking over every aspect of our lives? And what does the future hold? Astonishingly, the percentage of women working in tech within the UK is a mere 17%. Only 7% of young girls are taking computer science for A-level. We do not have to be staunch feminists to realise that there is a gender issue, but there are some organisations that are quietly but powerfully seeking to change this.
I used to work within technology and ended up speaking at a conference in the States. And I sort of had a road to Damascus moment where it hit me that, oh my goodness, you're a woman in tech, you've always been a girl or a woman, you're now working in technology, and that's something that you might have in common with these people and that might be part of your identity. But at the same conference also learnt that there'd been a problem over the last 30 or so years about women's participation in the field. So STEMETS was a response to learning that I might be in a shrinking minority, but also acknowledging that it's not just me personally that loses out. Wider society is losing out by not having more girls and young women and then women enjoying themselves in the industry. The biggest obstacle is definitely what we call the social norm. So there's no precedent or whether it's role models or visibility of women that have done technical things or who are doing technical things and enjoying them. You know, if you look at the display in school of famous scientists, they're always dead, they're always white and they're always male. So then the perception you have is that, you know, you have to be dead, white and male to have done any science. What I'm hopeful for, optimistic for, is that London will get better at including everyone as part of this tech revolution. So we're seeing quite a lot now around the Silicon Roundabout, around trying to include young people from there, but there are also young people in Tottenham, there are also young people in Harrow, also young people, you know, just north of Croydon. So making sure that everyone is part of that.
Technology is everywhere, whether it's electric timetables at bus stops or using computers at work. Even pharmacies are getting rid of the old and inviting in the new.
Here at Mattingham Pharmacy, we decided to make the switch between manual and robotic dispensing to increase productivity of the team. We felt it was better to have a methodical approach to the dispensing process and to move away from the stereotype of community pharmacy just being a retailer. Some of the benefits are that when the patient hands in a prescription, the waiting time is greatly reduced due to member of staff not having to move around to get their stock. It just comes straight to their workstation. I think robots, what they do generally is reduce the time a healthcare professional gives to a certain task, which means they'll have more time to engage patients, increase productivity and efficiency.
Our high streets have seen enormous change. Oil lamps once dotted our streets. Now electric street lights guide our night walks. Posters have now become moving digital billboards. Even London's iconic telephone boxes are changing.
We brought them across from London from New York, so we're live in New York already. We've been deploying these for over a year, and we're looking at where's the best places in the world to bring this technology, and we decided the UK was the next logical place, and where's the best place is the global capital, which is London. We're trying to reinvent essentially something that's been around for a long time, the phone box. Rather than just taking a phone box and building on top of it, we've gone back to the very, very start and said, well, what makes sense for cities and people, residents and visitors going now and the future?
It's like an old village notice board that you used to see outside of London, and this will just be a modern city notice board. Imagine if you're a local restaurant and you wanted to show your lunchtime specials, you could do that on this. Also, I think it's a real platform for civic creativity. So kids from schools can put up their latest projects there, people can put up, whatever they want.
That design goes even further when you talk about some of the accessibility side of things. So everything from where the height of the tablets is relative, so wheelchair users can use it equally as well. So it's a very inclusive design. There's a hearing loop and there's a text relay app in terms of on the tablets. If you're making phone calls, you can plug in a headset.
Having these kiosks is one part of a much wider picture about making London a smart city.
London's historic landmarks reveal that tech, even in its most early and simple form, has been a powerful force making the city tick.
London has always been what I call the great provider. It was 30%, nearly a third of Britain's industrial output in Victorian times.
We've had freedom of thought, both politically and religiously, for quite a long time. That has allowed inventors space to think, and it's allowed businessmen space to plan and invest. Most of the invention actually probably came out of the craftsmen initially. Later on, science began to take the lead.
The city's landmarks are not only beautiful structures, they have historical, practical uses beyond what we can see.
Parliament was an immense building. Heating it and ventilating it and taking the sewage away from it was a massive technical undertaking. The really ornate pointy thing between the two towers is really an extractor fan. It's just a rather beautiful one. It doesn't have any moving parts, but the idea is that all the hot air, which a lot is produced in Parliament, should come out of that aperture. And in fact, Big Ben itself is a glorified stink pipe. We have stink pipes around London streets for ventilating the sewers.
The sewers run on slight downhill slope under gravity, but as they go lower and lower and lower, they get to the point where if they were then to continue out into the east end of London, they'd be so deep they wouldn't be able to pump out. So at this point, the sewage was lifted and then drains away again. This was originally steam powered. It had big beam engines in, that's why it stands so tall. But now it's done by modern electric pumps. Battersea Power Station over the river here is a coal-fired power station. Coal came in onto jetties in front of the power station and was then taken inside where the coal burnt in the boilers, made the steam, and then the steam worked steam turbines to generate electricity. There was only half the power station that we now see. Originally, it only had the two chimneys. It was then doubled after the Second World War in size, and at that point it also became one of these early central heat and power plants. In fact, it supplied through pipes under the river steam to the blocks of flats which had gone up on this north side. We don't have developments of small sites. These are all giant sites, wiped clean of everything that was there before development starts. Apple could just as easily have been built like Google at King's Cross in a brand new office building rather than in what is actually going to be a pretty big sham building.
Even so, to survive, tech often has to adapt. Battersea Power Station will remain a part of our city, protected by its Grade 2 listing and a recent £1 billion restoration.
You've got to be careful, things change, and sometimes you don't realise that it's not listed. For instance, Tower Bridge was not listed until relatively recently, considering how important a structure it is to the image of London.
Tower Bridge is just one of London's landmarks that has had to adapt to changing times. It used to run on steam power. What tech does it use now? We are currently on our way down to the depths of Tower Bridge.
We've just come down through the accumulator chamber. This is the accumulator. And we're now going to go through into the bascule chamber. We're actually ever so slightly below the low tide level now. Everything which you see which is painted white is actually the moving structure of the bridge. The blue parts is what support the road above.
How does Tower Bridge work today?
The two bascules are both powered independently by hydraulic power packs, and they drive hydraulic motors, and they turn the original gears and quadrants on the back of the bridge, which actually raise the bridge when we do a bridge lift. The reason it can move so easily and quickly is the bascules are counterbalanced. An actual bridge lift is sort of 8 minutes. It is purely like a seesaw, with one end a little bit shorter than the other. We've got a huge box full of 460 tonnes of pig iron and lead, and that is what is the counterweight of the bridge, so it makes it perfectly balanced for when we do the bridge lift. The counterweight swings down towards us.
So when that comes down, that will lower and
Yes.
crush us if we didn't move.
If we didn't move, you've got a choice of 3 places to go. Back out of the door, lay down there, or stand up against the wall if you're really brave.
How did Tower Bridge used to work?
We had 4 Lancashire boilers generating steam pressure at 50 pounds per square inch. They would have then operated steam engines, which operated from that same pressure, but developed a water pressure of 750 pounds per square inch. And that was used to raise 6 hydraulic accumulators. Hydraulic accumulator basically is a hydraulic ram with a 100-tonne weight on it, so that when the bridge driver went to open the bridge, all 6 accumulators would force the water out and operate pumping engines on the bridge, which would turn the gears and the quadrants to raise the bridge, much as we do nowadays. Although we upgraded our technology back in the 1970s and a little upgrade in 2002, essentially what you see down here hasn't changed since 1894 when the bridge was built.
Advancements in technology often lead to job losses, as is the case with Tower Bridge. What previously took 80 people today takes 12 people to maintain and operate the bridge. In part 1, we unlocked the secrets of our city's past and revealed how tech has affected our capital. In part 2, we look to the future. Are robots set to take over your job?
Welcome back to London Undercover, the technology special. In part 1, we went behind the scenes of London's landmarks, showing the history of tech and the adaptations made to fuse the past with the present.
Everyday interactions like paying for products have had a tech upgrade.
Contactless cards launched in 2007 now make up 74.5 million cards in the UK.
Sage UK reports that a staggering 88 million contactless cards were used in London at the end of last year, with the figure increasing year on year. Contactless is simplifying every transaction we make, from the way we purchase goods and even the way we donate to charity.
Recently we've noticed, certainly in the last 2 years, that a lot more people aren't carrying cash anymore. It's become really important that charities find ways for people to donate to them when they don't have any cash on them. So this is the first terminal that we used in the trial with Visa and Save the Children in 2015. And it's very simple to use. Just get your bank card. If you'd like to make a donation, tap it on the top. You hear a beep and you've donated £5. Thank you very much. So there is a cost to charities who are collecting money in this way, but equally there's a cost to collecting cash. When charities collect cash, they have to get 2 people to count it all and then take it to the bank. So actually it's quite an expensive way of collecting funds for a charity. So overall, contactless works out cheaper as a way for giving money to charities.
Using contactless has resulted in higher average donations to charities. During a trial, the average donation was just over £3, higher than the average amount the charity receives through spare change.
Contactless fundraising is about to get big. I think lots of charities have been trying it. Lots of them have found that actually it's a great way to raise money, and it raises a lot more than when people just collect with cash.
And this Islington bench enables people to donate through contactless as well as charge their phone and access the internet.
London loves technology and it likes to be first and it likes to try stuff out. And I think that's great because it means for the world as a whole, cities like London, they drive things forward and they help us find what's going to be work and what's going to be effective in the future.
Contactless is not without its criticism. There are continuing fears of security and fraud concerns. One innovation is the use of biometric technology, which uses our unique biological traits to make what we are assured are secure payments. Fingerprints and facial recognition are part of this biometric revolution. This technology, trialled at music festivals, has now made its way to a bar in London.
I'm at the bar. What do I do next? I want to buy a drink. How do I do it?
Well, you tell the bartender you want a drink. He serves the drink. But before he does that, he'll press a button on the till which lights up this device here and tells you how much you're going to pay. And then you stick your finger in the device and the transaction will happen. Inside our fingers, we've got a unique pattern of veins. And what we do is we shine near infrared light through your finger. Your blood, your hemoglobin, absorbs infrared light, and we get a very clear vein pattern glowing. It lights up your vein pattern, and then we recognise you straight away.
The system takes 200 milliseconds to recognize the vein structure and complete a payment.
Fears of security are perhaps not as concerning as the robotics or artificial intelligence or AI phenomenon. Could our lives be taken over by this?
Development in technology has meant that robots are now doing more jobs than ever before. They're making drinks, cooking food, and delivering parcels right to our door. This has driven debates surrounding the future of work, as the Bank of England says that robots threaten to take over 15 million UK jobs.
There are a lot of fears about robotics, which are heavily driven by the media and by Hollywood. And I think that actually, if you work in the area, you realise that a lot of the things that you see in the movies are not realistic and not possible. A lot of fears are unfounded, and there's a lot of potential for robotic technology.
Do not panic about the robot uprising. It is a long way off, and if it does happen, it's not going to be through some evil machine trying to destroy humans. It's probably just going to be a terrible error. So I don't think we have anything to worry about.
Kinber, a robot receptionist, designed and developed by staff and students at King's College London, is used as an assistant to talk and interact with visitors. I'm not quite sure how well we understood each other though.
Hi Kimber, it's Hannah.
Hi, nice to meet you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. What's my name?
Hi, are you the Hannah I was speaking to a while ago?
Kimber, tell me a joke.
Have you ever tried eating a clock? It is very time consuming.
Robots, over the next few years, will start to work in jobs where you need a softer and gentler touch. One area that we're currently working on is working on robots that are able to handle fresh produce, things like fruit and vegetables, salads, leaves, flowers, things like that. These are things that are very hard to automate currently. Every apple is slightly different, and you can't easily program a robot to deal with that difference. Having smarter robots being able to do that will allow us to bring more variety in the types of foods that we might eat.
Robots have a bright future. We are now in the fourth industrial revolution. If we look into the first industrial revolution, second industrial revolution, we can see how society is improving and how so many tedious work was replaced by machines, by automation. For robotics, in the future, many tedious work, many work which possibly is too primitive, this can be replaced by robots.
The replacement of tedious jobs has already happened with a robot that's already in our homes, the washing machine.
40 years ago, people washed by hand, and simple compliances like this have freed us from these routine tasks.
You talk about all these jobs that have gone missing, and if we go way back, it used to be someone's job to reset the bowling pins when we did the bowling, right? That was somebody's job. Now there's a computer that's taken that job, but you've got to think for that person's life, now they're liberated to go and do something completely different.
Drafting a will, drafting a contract, routine medical diagnoses a GP might give. All of these things, it seems to me, can be replaced by artificial intelligence eventually and would not any longer require the need for people to go to medical school, law school, whatever.
So, according to the experts, robots that take over jobs in certain sectors are not something we have to worry about right now. In fact, robots currently taking over jobs are benefiting many industries.
In robotics, what we see is actually something slightly subtle happens. As you add automation into a company, put robots in, put machines in, your productivity goes up quite a lot, up to 22%. and your employment goes up by about 7% over time. So actually it's not about replacing the jobs, it's about freeing up the people to do more interesting tasks.
One benefit the robotics technology can bring is to augment the human's capability. For example, to reach out in dangerous area where humans are not going there.
Growth areas for robotics research at the moment, one of them is the military for drones, to have the robots fight warfare, and that puts us into very dodgy moral territory actually, because the idea is actually to get drones that will be attacking humans.
We already have robots, we have them all around us. We have robots that can vacuum your floor, we have robots that can cut your grass, that can perform surgery on you, that can work on factory production lines. But none of them have awareness, none of them have sentience or consciousness, and that is so far away, we don't even know if it's ever going to happen.
Robot consciousness is not something we need to worry about. For the time being, technology brings ease and simplicity to all our lives, from paying with our fingers, upgraded telephone boxes, and advancements in robotics and AI. We realise technology is not something to fear, rather something to embrace.
Seems there's a lot on the mind of London town today. Beyond the landmarks of this city, beyond the picture postcard scenes, into the back streets and the bedrooms and the dreams of people here. Beyond the grandiose shop windows to the cardboard beds below. 0-hour contract bodies dragging hope and anger home. Those people we don't know. Those communities unseen. An ageing population alone befriending TV screens. So now let's look through lit up windows where the real people live. Beyond the picture postcard scenes. Into the back streets and the bedrooms and the dreams of people here.